Now, here's Dr. Larry.
Did you know? Let's go.
You've waited all week.
Every week, we continue to learn how to achieve a better back and ultimately better health.
Live in the WIKB studios, this is Dr. Larry.
Well, thank you for enough. Let's go, Pastor Tim. Hello again, everybody. Memorial Day weekend. Here we go. Let's get it started. Well, as you know, every show builds on the next. Every week, we continue to learn how to achieve a better back and ultimately better health. Now, in case any of you missed it, last time we talked about waivers. It was an important week to be tuned in because we learned and defined about what's in a medical waiver because, let's face it, it's information to savor. So here it is one more time. Waivers. Do not sign this form without reading and understanding its contents. Waivers. Medical waivers for surgery. What I did is I just read the heading of an actual medical waiver that a patient signed just before back surgery. Because when you're in pain, sick, or injured, you are optimistic and longing to finally get your problem fixed, and in this case, via surgery. And one of the absolute requirements is that you will have to sign a waiver. And as you heard me read the first line in bold text, when it comes to low back surgery or any type of surgery, you may gloss over the waiver for a minute, but all will sign it. Otherwise, no surgery. So for last week's show, I read and helped you understand the contents of a medical waiver for surgery, exactly what it says, but more importantly, what it means. Because I'm going to make a few large assumptions. Number one, when it comes to medical waivers for surgeries, most likely you don't have a lawyer interpreting it for you. Or if you are a lawyer and going to have surgery, then probably you're not going to scrutinize it anyway. You need the surgery. Then I'm going to assume that if you're listening right now, most likely, probably, perhaps, you aren't signing anything because you're listening. Maybe a fourth assumption. Let's stretch it a little bit, one more. That the hospital has got your best interest in mind. Long, uncomfortable pause. You're being cared for. They're hospitals. Hospitals are to get sick or injured people well. You are sick or injured, therefore they are there to nurture you back to health, which, therefore, all things needed are for you in your best interest, right? Well, as you know, signing a waiver is usual and customary business. It is what it is. So let's take the luxury of time for a brief review again of what a medical waiver is. I can't nearly cover, of course, what I did in the entire show. This is just the review before we get on to the next segment. And I use the one for low back surgery, but it's pretty ubiquitous. It's all the way around kind of common. Now, the big idea of a waiver to understand is the difference between the letter, what is actually written, and the spirit of the waiver. The letter of the law or the spirit of the law is another way to say it. So the letter of the waiver is the written protection. The hospital and surgeon are documenting that the patient, you, were told the procedure, the risks, the alternatives, the anesthesia used, assistance, implants, photos, videos, and no guarantee was made. The spirit of the letter of the law is bigger. It magnifies it. It's wider than what is actually written. Did you truly understand what was about to happen, why it was being done, what could go wrong, what the alternatives were, and what life may look like afterwards if it works or not? So the form is not just a permission slip. It's a legal and ethical document saying that you, the patient, understand what's being proposed, you understand all of the risks, you understand the alternatives, and you also understand there are no guarantees, and you voluntarily agree to move forward. That's the essence of the waiver. But here's the problem. Patients sign a form without truly being informed, and that's where the letter and the spirit start to separate. So let's drill this down a little bit, and I'm just going to basically spend time on the first couple of lines because it'll really get you motivated in the mind to get the essence of what the whole show was about last week. So going back, this is actually verbatim. Do not sign this form without reading and understanding its contents. So you are warned not to sign it blindly. Most do. And you are to stop, read, ask questions, understand. So that was the essence of the show last week. That's what I did, is so we could stop, stretch it out over 50 minutes of radio, ask questions, and understand it. So therefore, maybe the burden of the misunderstanding starts to lower a bit. Your signature is not supposed to mean I was handed a clipboard, even though that's essentially what happens. Your signature is supposed to mean you comprehend. But I'll tell you that you, the patient, and them, the hospital, are stuck in a rat trap. Basically, you sign without reading because in this world, you'd spend a lifetime reading small print and waivers that would take forever, and the hospital has to do this because they don't know you and they need legal protection. It really stinks. You are forced, they are forced, I'm forced. We have to give and sign waivers. So let's take just this moment and understand what actually the definition of a waiver is. It's a noun, and the act of, or what it is the act of intentionally relinquishing or abandoning a known right, claim, or privilege. It's a legal instrument that evidences that you're doing that. So we could almost stop right there, but the next part, voluntary consent, is really important to understand. So you put your name, patient name, put it right there. This is what the waiver is. I have it in front of me. Voluntarily consent to Dr. fill in the blank. And on the next lines, to perform fill in the blank. So what is voluntary consent? It is also known as informed consent, and it is freely, you are, or we are, as we sign these, and voluntarily given and mutually understood by all parties and expressed through the voluntary words or actions that are mutually understandable to all parties. That sounds like a lot of marbles in the mouth. And the legal term means that you, the patient, or the person, the human being, willfully agrees to another person's proposition, in this case, the surgeon and hospital doing the surgery, and that you consent and you have sufficient mental capacity, and consent to also requires the absence of coercion, fraud, or error. So what does that mean when you volunteer for something? Well, in kindergarten, we need some volunteers after class. Let's say Johnny and Susie, if you volunteer to help erase the chalkboard from all the math equations. And not everybody has to show up, but just the volunteers. Or after church. Maybe you need some volunteers after church to help clean up after potluck. So maybe if there's 100 in the congregation, maybe 20 show up. Now, volunteering for something sounds, well, noble. Of course, it can be. Voluntarily consenting to a form has the same spirit of you volunteering for this without coercion. But let me add a little flavor to it. Let's go back to the church thing. Let's say the priest, the minister, the pastor gets up and says, we need volunteers to clean up after potluck. However, those that don't volunteer are never going to make it into the kingdom. And, well, everybody's going to show up. Hands are going to shoot up. Now, of course, it's ridiculous what I'm saying. But in a sense, even though in the spirit of the waiver it says you are voluntarily giving all of your rights over to the hospital. That's what it says. You're giving them all over to the hospital and the surgeon with no guarantee. And you are volunteering to do so. But the deal is if you don't sign it, you're not going to get the surgery. So there's some implied coercion there. Although all of us sign it, you're stuck with it. But to say that it's not by coercion is a little bit of a misfire. So I just want to clean that mindset and language up for you. So keep those things in mind. So that's really kind of compounds the whole show from last week, is you're voluntarily consenting and giving up all of your rights at that moment for whatever happens in the surgery. And as a result, I'm going to go back to the verbiage now, of this procedure being formed, there may be risk of infection, allergic reaction, loss of blood, removal or loss of function of any limb. But wait a second, I was having an eye surgery. How is it that I could lose my foot? Any limb, any organ, paralysis, cardiac, respiratory arrest, or death. You are voluntarily giving up all of your rights to anything that could happen, and any of those things could happen, and they do happen sometimes, and you don't have any rights for that. That's what a waiver is. Let's go back to some case examples of actually real patients, those that had signed a waiver and what happened to them. A lady, middle-aged, had an infection from a heart cath. Now, faint of ears, you don't want to listen to this one. The infection raged through her thoracic area where they had to sawzall her open, put cellophane wrap, and wash out her organs for 6 months. She said, Dr. Larry, when I looked down and saw my open chest cavity with my organs out and everything out with infection, she says, that was a horror show. Waiver was signed. Infection got in, went through her entire thoracic area, of course, where they're doing a heart cath. 6 months open chest cavity. Rights are gone. Thankfully, she survived. Thankfully, she's okay. And I went through lots of case examples like that I don't have time to get into right now. And we drilled down the whole part of the waiver. We went through the anesthesia clause. That's a separate waiver. It was packed. It was a whole show. If you missed the entire show and want to be more in the know, then log on to my website, drlarryradio.com. Hit the subscribe button, follow the links, listen to the entire show. It's been uploaded now, which you can listen to at your leisure as a podcast, not a radio show. We're doing a radio show right now. That's a podcast then. Here is the final point. If you sign a medical waiver, just remember it's got contents not in your favor. Now, beyond that, in addition to the alphabet soup, last week we learned a simple self-test for bursitis. It was another Dr. Larry cool tool, and you can call my office for a freebie reminder just in case you're in need of a retip or a tip up. And so that was last week. Hi-ya. Now today we'll forget that monologue for a moment and keep remembering those mandatory communication skills all doctors must have, which are inquisitive listening and staying positive. Again, it often means the difference between sick and well. Also, it's another month of the year, so let's keep our hammies in gear. I checked out some hammies this week. That's what made me think of this again. So in our tip and trick segment today, we're going to learn a simple self-test for hamstring bulk. And of course, you per Tim, are calling it out right from the broadcast booth while we crank up the tunes, and I hit the center stage for the demo. However, before all that, in order to have good health, you don't need a lot of wealth. So let's flex our forebrain and put some knowledge to the game, because today we're going to talk about, hit it, Pearl.
Dr. Larry brings you another segment of Did You Know?
Denied. Your claim got fried. Don't think your insurance company cried. They've got big corporate pride. And this is a problem far and wide. Health insurance denials can put you through financial trials. Why claims are denied? When we get back from the break, stay tuned. You're listening to the Dr. Larry Radio Show.
Dr. Larry will be back in a moment.
This is Lois.
Here's your Iron River and surrounding area forecast. Daytime highs approaching 61 this afternoon under clear skies, southeasterly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows level off around 35. Tonight, mainly clear. High temperatures reach up to 65. Tomorrow, sunshine mixed with clouds at times. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on WIKB. Currently 55.
May is Motorcycle Awareness Month, so look twice, save a life. Motorcycles are everywhere. This message is brought to you by the American Legion Riders, Reno Chapter 21. Looking for new members. Meetings, first Monday of the month, 7:30, Stanville American Legion Post 21. Remember, share the roads. Watch out for motorcycles.
Flow aluminum dock systems are made to bring time at the lake to a whole new level. You can create any layout you want, accessorize it for comfort and fun. They are strong, stable, safe, and they add a beautiful touch to your shoreline that will last indefinitely. Maybe it's time to join the thousands of other families that have turned their dock into a shoreline paradise. Maybe it's time for a Flow from Jensen Akins of Conover or Three Lakes Docks and Lifts.
Does your financial advisor take the time to really listen to you? Is your financial strategy personalized to you and your family? Will your financial advisor be there as your life and financial situations change? When you work with Ryan O'Grady, your Crystal Falls Edward Jones financial advisor, he focuses on what's important to you. You'll work together and use an established process to create a personalized financial strategy, backed by the advice, tools, and resources to help you reach your goals. And you can partner long-term to help your strategy stay on track. Contact Ryan today at 906-875-3833. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Break's over. Time to get cracking once again with Dr. Larry.
Welcome back. Yahtzee. Yahtzee is fun for some people, isn't it? How about cribbage? How many of you like to play cribbage? A lot. Or cards every Thursday night? Some of you ladies out there. I know there are a lot of schmear players out there. I think that's how you say it. Depending on how your family says it, of course. In college, I played a lot of euchre. And the point is, games are fun. They're harmless. Usually it's a small group of people sitting around a table, competing a little bit, laughing a little bit, talking smart every once in a while. And even though it only takes a few seconds to roll some dice, Yahtzee, or deal a card of hands, the actual game does take time. Yahtzee doesn't take 10 seconds. Cribbage doesn't take 10 seconds. Schmier, nah. Euchre doesn't take 10 seconds. You have to set up the game, deal the cards, roll the dice. You have to think, strategize, play the hand. You have to count points. So realistically, a game could take 15 minutes, 30, maybe an hour. Depends on who you're playing with, how many people. So let me ask you this then. If you were an expert card player or an expert cribbage player or Yahtzee player, and all you had to do was eat, sleep, and play games, how many full games could you play in one day? 10? 15? Maybe more if you really pushed it. But remember, you're still human. You still got to think. I got to pay attention. I got to play the game. Well, let's be generous. Let's say you could do 10 full games in a day. Full games of Yahtzee, cribbage, or Schmier. It'd be a lot, maybe. Now, this show is not about card games, of course, although that would probably be a fun show. It's a healthcare show. But I want you to keep that image in your mind. A table, a game, cards, dice, strategy, time, attention. Because today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a very different kind of game. It's the game of health insurance denials. And this game is not being played for fun. It involves your blood work, your tests, your imaging, your procedures, your medication, your pain, your health. Sometimes your wallet. Here's the basic setup. You go to the doctor examines you, decides you need X, Y, or Z, a test, a procedure, a prescription, certain type of care. Claim gets sent to your insurance company, and then sometimes you get a letter back that says denied, not covered, not paid, or the big one, not medically necessary. Have you ever had that happen? Do you know somebody? The doctor says you need it, insurance company says you don't. And the patient, you, are left sitting there thinking, wait a minute, who's actually making these decisions? Was it the doctor? A computer? Did anybody read my file? Did anybody look at my case? Did anybody look at me as a human being? So that brings into the article, which was a huge investigative report that I want to walk through today from ProPublica. And the title is this: How Cigna, and if I say Cigna, this is just the title of the article. You just can translate this to other and all big companies. Saves millions by having its doctors reject claims without reading them. So that title alone should grab our attention. And the article says this: Internal documents and former company executives reveal how Cigna doctors reject payment claims without opening their files. Now think about that. Because before a health insurer rejects a claim before medical reasons, the idea is that the company doctor is supposed to have reviewed it. Well, the article explains the medical directors are expected to examine patient records, review coverage policies, and use their expertise to decide whether to approve or deny claims. Well, that sounds reasonable, letter of the law. But if a claim is going to be denied for a medical reason, then a medical person should actually review the medical records, common sense. But this is where the story takes a hard turn. And this isn't, by the way, fake story. This is true. The article reports, per the investigation, that one Cigna medical director denied roughly 60,000 claims in 1 month. 60,000. Keep in mind our playing card game. Keep that in mind. And according to the article, over a 2-month period, Cigna doctors denied more than 300,000 requests for payment using this method, spending an average of 1.2 seconds each case. 1.2 seconds. It takes longer than that to roll the dice in Yahtzee. It takes longer than that to deal a hand of cards. It takes longer than that to say who dealt this hand. It takes longer than that to say bingo if you got bingo. But according to the investigation, that was enough time for a claim to be denied. And one former Cigna doctor said very directly, we literally click and submit, and then added it all takes 10 seconds to do 50 at a time. Those are real claims, real people. 10 seconds, 50 claims. Now, remember, again, what we said. You can't play 50 hands of euchre in 50 seconds. Cribbage. You can't even look at 50 patient stories in 10 seconds. But this article says it could be denied that fast. And why does this matter? Because this isn't the game where the loser has to shuffle the cards and play again and laugh. It's a game where the patient, you, get a bill. You may have to skip a test, delay care. You may give up. Or you may just pay it because you don't know what else to do. And in a sense, the doctor, the hospital, the facility, I'm going to add chiropractors, provided the service. So you know they provided the service, and the hard fact and reality is insurance claim or money that you paid, they're playing hardball. It's a great way to run hospitals and doctors out of business as well, too, if they don't get paid. So there was a guy, his name is Nick, and he had a stubborn bone pain. So the article kind of frames around this situation. His doctor suspected a vitamin D problem. And that makes medical sense because without enough vitamin D, the body can't pull calcium through the bones, etc. You know that story. Left untreated, vitamin D deficiency can contribute to bone weakness and osteoporosis. So his doctor ordered blood work. Test confirmed, the doctor's concerned. Cigna denied the payment for the test, saying it was not medically necessary. Well, the patient happened to be a physician himself, and he said something that I think a lot of people feel, they know how to say it. He said, this is a clinical decision being made and second guessed by someone with no knowledge of me, and in 1.2 seconds, as it comes to later find out. So that's the human side of the story. The clinical decision being second guessed by someone with no knowledge, and according to the article, he was right to be suspicious because his claim was one of the roughly 60,000 denied by the same medical director in a single month. Click, click, click. I mean, it's basically just tapping your finger on the mouse button. Now, of course, Cigna disputes this. A company called the reporting biased and incomplete, and said its system was to help accelerate payment for claims for certain routine screenings, and the process helps automatically approve claims when submitted with correct diagnosis. So you get the flip-flop there. In the one way, they can deny 60,000, but also they can say, but we approve 60,000 too. Now, I just made the 60,000 number up on the other side of the approval, but you get my point. So that's the other side of it. But former Cigna doctors and executives tried something different. And the article says a computer would flag a mismatch between a diagnosis and a procedure, and then the doctors would sign off denials in batches. The system has a name to it, by the way. PXDX. Procedure to diagnosis. In other words, does the procedure match the diagnosis codes? If the system decides it doesn't match, the claim can be flagged. And the question then, did a human being actually review the patient, read the record? Did they look at the story? Did they just click? One former executive put it bluntly, you're talking about a system built to deny claims. And another quote from the article is even more direct about this PXDX system. This PXDX stuff is not reviewed by a doc or a nurse or anything like that. That's quote unquote. So, not reviewed by any medical professional or anything like that, and yet the patient receives a denial. That's the problem. The language sounds medical. The letter may be signed by a doctor, the denial letter, but the process is totally administrative. It's automated and it's batched and it's fast. And when you're the patient, you don't know which one you're dealing with. Is this true medical review, even though it looks like medical jargon? Or was it a computerized denial process? And then there's the business side, as one former executive said. Why not just deny them all and see which ones come back on appeal? From a cost perspective, that makes sense. That's a hard quote to hear, but it explains a lot. Because most people don't appeal. And I'm going to give you statistics on appeals. It's unbelievable. Statistics that insurance companies know that based on the number of denials, how many patients actually appeal these denied claims. That number is going to shock you. I'm going to give you that here in a few minutes. You get the letter, you get frustrated, you get confused and think, I guess that's just how it is, and pay the bill and drop it off. Now, I did this show 2 years ago. After the show, a retired executive from a large insurance company reached out, told me, said, you're spot on. There was nothing wrong with what you described in the article in the investigation. So that stuck with me because this is one of those topics where, you feel something's wrong, but you don't know how to explain it. You don't know how to put it into words, or is it really, maybe you're just kind of going a little wacko here. No, this etches it all in. So you're stuck in the middle. Doctors, of course, and hospitals stuck in the middle, and that's why we're talking about it again today. Because if you get a denial letter that says not medically necessary, you need to know what they mean. Ask the questions. You need to know the first may not be the final answer. So The article itself really expands on what this PXDX software system is. And by the way, with the AI coming into the forefront, all it does is make this even more efficient. Now, behind the scenes, of course, you've got coders, billers, hospital people, all struggling to try to get the game right, to match the code, the CPT, whatever. It's really, honestly, if the rest of society was built like this, if we had to do this to go get gas and groceries, it would be Mad Max mess. Yet, here are hospitals. I would tell you right now, based on insurance denials, just in my small office, and everything that happens in between write-offs, and I have to say patients that don't care, I could probably hire another person, maybe a two, based on just the amount of denials. So it's a loss of a job for a small office. We just have to eat a lot of stuff. Some patients, and I'll get into this a little bit too, recognize that and go, hey, you've tried. Here's a check. I get it. It stinks. But let's expand back into the article, because you're talking, on my side of it, chiropractic claims, there really are, a couple $100 here and there per patient, maybe 50. Take that times, 100, of course, it ramps up quick. But if you go into the hospitals, it's into the millions. Their margins are bigger. They bill a lot more for stuff. So there's a lot more cushion in between there. But the point is the point. So getting a denial letter. Your medical care should not be cited faster than it takes to roll the dice. So let's balance the equation though, and let's be a little fair. What I'm going to do when I get back from the break, it's not all insurances. Let's kind of go through what a denial process is. Let's finish up the article in paraphrase a little bit, and let's just hopefully understand a little bit more that when you get these denials, as one patient did, he got on the phone and he was relentless. They paid everything between his PT, his medical doctor. And I told him, I said, you're rare. I said, they know people like you don't exist out there. And I'll give you those stats, by the way, of how many people actually just don't even bother with trying with the denials. We'll do that when we get back from the break. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Dr. Larry Radio Show.
We'll be right back with Dr. Larry.
Your healthcare should be about what's best for you. Yet too often, healthcare professionals focus on keeping patients within their system, including who they refer you to. I'm Dr. Jason Klein, orthopedic surgeon and physician owner at OSMS. You should be seen by who you want, and you can be. At OSMS, our focus is on providing you with the highest quality of care in a safe environment. The best part is, you usually don't need a referral for orthopedic care. Learn more at askforosms.com.
I would never recommend buying a home without having the water tested first. It's cool, it's clear, it looks clean. Oh, it tastes good. Well, what's really in it? And we just recommend that you check it out. I'm Jennifer Toivonen. I'm a co-lab director at Whitewater Associates of AMISA. Coliform bacteria, lead, arsenic, nitrates, nitrites. You want to be sure that water is safe. I would recommend giving us a call. That way we can tailor the kit that we send to you for what you need. 906-822-7889. Give us a call.
Does your financial advisor take the time to really listen to you? Is your financial strategy personalized to you and your family? Will your financial advisor be there as your life and financial situations change? When you work with Ryan O'Grady, your Crystal Falls Edward Jones financial advisor, he focuses on what's important to you. You'll work together and use an established process to create a personalized financial strategy, backed by the advice, tools, and resources to help you reach your goals. And you can partner long-term to help your strategy stay on track. Contact Ryan today at 906-875-3833. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Break's over. Time to get cracking once again with Dr. Larry.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, hopefully not, but if you're just tuning in, we're going over insurance denials. Now, I want to be fair. This is not just let's pick on one company show. Cigna is the company in the investigation. The bigger issue is this. It's the health insurance system has learned how to turn denials into a process. They've learned how to turn it into a workflow. They've learned through computer algorithms how to filter, and they learn really efficiently how to make cost control their tool. Now, sometimes the words on the denial letter sound medical, like I mentioned, not medically necessary. And they got a whole bunch of other words. I wish I should download some of the ones they even give for the chiropractic office. It's just not comical, but it's just like you slap your head going, I can't believe this. So the process behind it is more administrative than it is medical. That's the part to understand. Now here's the statistic that I wanted to give you. Because in the even broader marketplace, claim denials are common. In an analysis of 2023 healthcare.gov marketplace plans found that insurers denied about 20% of in-network claims, with denial rates ranging from 1% to 54% depending on insurer in the state. And here's the part that should make everybody sit up. It's not just the claims get denied, it's that almost nobody appeals. In the study that I just referenced, found that fewer than 1% of denied in-network claims were appealed by healthcare.gov consumers in 2023. Less than 1%. So if you are an insurance company, what does that tell you? Behavior-wise, it tells you that a denial letter is not always the end of the process. Sometimes it's just the beginning of a test. Will the patient give up? Will the doctor office give up? Will the bill just get paid? And the analysis found that when appeals did happen, insurers upheld their original decision 56% of the time. So it ups your ante about 44%, meaning many people still need to push beyond the first internal appeal when the denial is wrong. Now the waiting game. Now how aggressive are you going to be in your tiered denial process? So of the 1% that actually fight, of that 1%, they only pay for 44% of those. I don't want to lose you in percentage here, but of the 1%, 99% don't even fight it. They still only pay for that. So now what are we down to? We're at fractions of a percent now. Then you get to the second denial, and these denial reasons are often vague. It's another thing you need to know. When you get a denial, the reason may not even be clear. In fact, in the analysis that I'm quoting right now, the most common reason listed for denial was, quote, other. See, as long as you leave it wide open, think about that. Go to the doctor, the doctor orders care, claim gets denied, maybe even part of it gets denied, some of it gets paid. And the category is essentially other, in a sense. It's not very clear, it's very foggy. In the analysis, it reported that among available denial reasons, the most common other was around 34%. And other can mean there's these terms that they use that basically sound like other, but I'm just using other because it's something that you and I both understand, and we can talk about it together over the water cooler. Followed up by administrative reasons, excluded services, lack of prior authorizations, and you've heard in some of my announcements, prior authorizations is another weapon they're using too. So not only do they have the algorithmic denial, 60,001 doctor, click, 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 even ahead of schedule. Now they're slapping prior authorizations on even routine stuff. Now there was a little, I guess, a victory, if you want to call it that, for chiropractors. I got something in the email bin last month that somehow, some way, the tiny little chiropractic profession fought back, and now for one of the big healthcare insurance companies, they don't need prior authorization for you to come in for your $35, $40 visit. So that's good. Because before they were saying that you would, if you hurt your back and you had this insurance, then you're hurting in pain, your back spasmings. Hold on a second, we have to get prior authorizations for you to come in for 6 visits at a total cost of, what, $200? They really squeeze chiropractors a lot because they know they can. But in this case, Chiro's won a small victory. Okay, going back to the main subject. In the 2024 ProPublica, that's who did this investigation follow-up, the click and close, the story didn't disappear. They followed up with another report, but a former Cigna medical director who said the pressure was to move fast. Not slow down, not deeply review, but to move fast. She described the internal pressure as deny, 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 to hit the numbers. And there was even a phrase used for quick decisions, click and close. So that should tell you something. Because if the system rewards speed, volume, and closure, then the real life story can get reduced to a checkbox. And ProPublica reported in 2024 that former Cigna medical director Dr. Debbie Day, she put her name out there, said that she was pressured to review cases too quickly and that the speed was prioritized over careful review. Now, here's the modern day healthcare question. Who is at making the decisions? Your doctor? Is it a medical director, a nurse reviewer, the computer matching a diagnosis code to procedure code? Or is it a system designed to say this code doesn't match that code, denied? It's almost like Babel. It's just everybody's going to speak a different language so nobody can communicate and therefore everything can be denied. That's why I wanted you to understand the term PXDX, procedure to diagnosis. In the most simplest terms, does the test or procedure match the diagnosis code the insurance company thinks should go with it? So if not, the system flags it. And then the question becomes, did a real person really review your story, or did they review a computer output? The original ProPublica investigation described Cigna's PXDX as a procedure to diagnosis review system that could route claims for denial without doctors opening the file, according to former employees and internal documents. So, what do? How do you handle this? Well, number one, don't throw away your denial letters. Number two, don't assume the first no is final. And number three, ask for the specific reason, not a vague reason, not medically unnecessary. Ask, what exact policy did you use? So basically, you flip the tables on them. And there is actually a process that you can do, which I will briefly go over for you, but it's something you're going to have to look up if you actually want to do like this one patient did, where he literally, he beat them up on their own process and won. Kudos to him and other people like him, because the patients like him get it. He went out and got services at multiple different facilities. Nobody got paid. He cut checks and then went after the insurance company and had them cut a check. I mean, that's pretty remarkable, because he recognizes, again, too, how in the world can, if this is happening to me, I know it's happening to other people. And again, these are just side discussions I have with patients. So they're wonderful stories of people that do stuff like that. So what do you do? What clinical criteria do you use? I had another guy. He needed I would say was a procedure that was costly. It is a little outside the fringe. He had great insurance. This is a story I'm giving you now too. And it was going to cost, I'd say, roughly the cost of a small house, say $90,000. His insurance company denied it. He was going to remortgage his house. And I said, hold on a second. And we had a talk. So herein lies, we had what's called a 99213 consult. That would be a code I would have to use for the consult I gave about his insurance company, talking about his healthcare situation. So for $100, he and I had a $90,000 talk, and I told him what he needed to do to get through this, and the insurance company paid his $90,000 procedure, even though they denied it. Now, as you know, I've been pretty much in healthcare for 25 years. Also, I did undercover investigations, as many of you know, before I even became a chiropractor, for and against insurance companies. So I have angles, and I can help patients out sometimes understand this stuff to a point. Ultimately, it comes on you to have to fight through this. So you've got to kind of use their policies that they write, in a sense, like a jiu-jitsu move or a judo move, as Tim's going to smile here too. Judo guy sitting next to me, Hooper Tim. Ask if your medical record, so I'm kind of just massaging this over for you right now, but I'll give you the official process here in a second, and what documentations would change the decision, and then put the appeal in writing. Now, you can do this now too, even a lot easier with AI. So if they're using AI, you use AI. For $20 on ChatGPT, draft me a legal medical record, you upload your documents, you hammer out the thing, and address it to your fill-in-the-blank insurance company, sign it, and then you cut and paste and you fire it off to them. Why not? Why not fight your claim using the same tools they're doing to deny it? I mean, it's just a side piece suggestion for you. So let me say something too from the doctor's side of the equation. This is doctors in general. I spoke to a neurosurgeon 2 weeks ago personally. He's going to break away from the hospital system. I found out he's going to leave the big box. I mean, so you're talking top of the food chain, neurosurgeon, pretty much has, can have his future just written for him, younger guy. And he's going to go off on his own. He's going to open up a private practice, of course, do surgeries in the hospital, but he's going to own a private practice. And he's like, you've been in practice for a long time, Dr. Larry. I want to talk about, some of the ins and outs. And instantly in my head, and he kept using this term, I want to have more empathy for patients. And in my head, I love the fact that he's going to do it. But, of course, what I was thinking in my head running parallel was everything I'm thinking about with this show with you and how the empathy for a patient can start to really begin to struggle with a practitioner, because now you're dealing, if he's working for a big box hospital, they're taking care of all this stuff. He comes in, does his surgery, sees patients. But with that, there's a lot of bureaucracy in order to take care of patients. And he's like, I just can't feel like I spend the time like I need to with patients. And I'm like, I get it. I said, everybody knows here I spend as much time as I need. So here's this neurosurgeon who wants to break off on his own. And at the moment, because it was the first conversation, I didn't have the heart to begin to tell him all of the difficulties he's going to face. Because it's not that it can't be done. It can be done. It's just he's going to add a lot of layers of to his day to have empathy for patients, to see you like you want. See, he didn't want to, per some of his statements, I just don't want to keep defaulting everything to the physician assistant. I want to use them in such a way that's effective, but not where it's a barrier between me and patients. I mean, all the stuff he's saying was like pretty genuine. And, so if he does open up, you'll definitely hear about it. I'll bring him on the show. We'll talk about all this stuff. And as soon as he opens up shop, so I know he won't have a problem. And he'll be excited, let's face it. He's going to open up his own practice. Downside of it, it's kind of far away from all of us, but not within too far range. Okay, so from the doctor's side of it, sometimes the public thinks this. So remember, I'm trying to be fair. I'm trying to balance out this whole equation here for all involved. Just bill my insurance. But I want you to understand what happens after that. The doctor provides care, the office documents it, the office codes it, really theoretically and objectively correctly. The claim goes out, computer system denies it, per this, as you just heard, these denial claims at 1.2 seconds. And then the doctor's office has to spend time fighting for payment for care that's already been provided. Overhead's been paid for. Staff, everybody you saw, the chair that you sat in, the doctor's time. It's not a freebie. It's staff time, administrative time, and that's why this healthcare system sometimes can feel so broken. Because sometimes between the patient, the doctor, and the insurance company has become this maze, as you heard, per this investigation. It really it highlights as well, that investigation. I had a patient the other day come in, was discouraged, and was reflecting on just this. She was just kind of down and out. She's like, I feel like the whole system's broken, Dr. Larry. Why is it? Why is it that my practitioners can only spend 10, 15 minutes with me, or 20 minutes, as we were already on the 35-minute when she was talking to me about some other stuff as well, too? And how do I feel shuffled around? Why is it can I only talk about one thing? And if I could just have more time with the practitioner, if they could get to know you. And I said, you're right. I said, there's a whole reason for it. And in part, I have to tell you, a lot of people are okay with it. See it for 20 minutes, get paid a high fee, move on. Everybody knows there's the insurance denial, but some are not. And I can say that there are patients like this lady and people like you that would prefer that, in spite of all the maze and the chaos, to cut right through it and go, you know what, bottom line is this. Whatever my insurance pays or doesn't pay, I would rather have the time to get my healthcare situation figured out and pay the difference if necessary and go after them if I need to, because otherwise what happens is that patients, doctors, hospitals, you start seeing the drying up of individual practices. So it's a major problem. But individual decisions sometimes turn the tables on the problems, and I've seen great examples of it. I've seen patients come in and go, oh yeah, figures they didn't do this, but Dr. Larry spent the time. Or they were at another office. Can you believe I went to a specialist, then they literally were with me for over an hour, which again sometimes is, or a lot of times is rare. So patients sometimes recognize and appreciate it. On the flip side of it, the downside of it is there are some, more than you think, that take advantage of it as well, too. Insurance didn't pay it. I'm not paying you anything. We just had a couple of those in the last week. Is what it is. Eat it. Sorry, you're in the business. You should get it. I mean, these are some of the harsh comments that people make to practitioners as well, too, and beat up coders at hospitals. It's amazing, even though care was rendered and things were done. All the while, what's sitting back is the bottom line is where does it all start? A lot of times it starts at this denial, click, and close thing. Now, of course, in the rural areas, it matters even more. Why? Because we don't have unlimited access. We don't have specialists on every corner, and we don't have endless options. If a test is delayed, like it was, or a procedure was delayed, like with a patient that just told me, and her mother died, they just denied it, even though the hospital could have done the procedure. They said, nope, denied it. So her mom had to sit home and die. That can mean more driving, more waiting, more pain, more confusion. Sometimes, in the big areas, you got 5 options. In a rural area, you may have 1 option and a long drive. So that's when insurance now has become automated, distant, and difficult to appeal. Rural patients get hit hard, and I would say sometimes even harder. Now, of course, to wrap this all up, because I gotta move to the break. Not every denial is corrupt. That's not what the whole point is here. But I'm just giving you the small print, and I'm magnifying the small print. Sometimes the doctor's office used the wrong code. Less than what you think. Sometimes the plan really does not cover that service, but you got it anyway. Sometimes the prior authorization was required, but nobody knew. Sometimes the patient's out of network, and the list goes on and on and on. So let's go back to Yahtzee. When you roll the dice, at least you know what you're playing the game. Play cribbage, you know the rules. Play schmear or euchre, you know there's a strategy. When it comes to getting a denial letter, you often don't know the rules. So my take home today is simple. When you get a denial, don't panic. Make a decision to pay the hospital practitioner, whatever, if you can. Go after the insurance company. I've seen some very effective patients go after insurance companies, ask for their policy, the criteria, who reviewed it, ask whether your records were actually reviewed, and appeal it in writing using technology. You can really get things going, and there's an internal appeals process. So your healthcare denies a claim, you've got a certain number of days to get that ball rolling. Might as well get it rolling. It does take a lot of time. I understand that, especially if you have big dollar claims. It's one of those things I think that would be useful for you to look up to do. I've got to move to a break. Hopefully you understand a little bit more about what goes on behind the scenes with your insurance companies. This is not a pitch to beat up insurance companies. This is just reality and facts. I'll have some tip and trick and announcements coming back when we wrap up the show, when we get back from the break. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Dr. Larry Radio Show.
We'll be right back with Dr. Larry.
The historic Crystal Theater presents Michigan's own Peter Bergen, celebrating the joy, rhythms, and history of ragtime piano. Join us for a night of pure ragtime magic this Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Tickets at thecrystaltheater.org.
Flow aluminum dock systems are made to bring time at the lake to a whole new level. You can create any layout you want, accessorize it for comfort and fun. They are strong, stable, safe, and they add a beautiful touch to your shoreline that will last indefinitely. Maybe it's time to join the thousands of other families that have turned their dock into a shoreline paradise. Maybe it's time for a Flow from Jensen Akins of Conover or Three Lakes Docks and Lifts.
This is Julia from Iron River, and you're listening to Dr. Larry Radio.
Break's over. Time to get cracking once again with Dr. Larry.
Welcome back. Okay, a couple of things, announcements, you know the drill. Before we wrap up the show, get to the weekly tip and trick. Shoes. Don't forget about Queen City Running. Memorial Weekend, if you need some good shoes, walking shoes, running shoes, or just need something better for your feet, knees, hips, go see him. And remember, if you reference, hey, I'm a fan of Dr. Larry. I listen to Dr. Larry. I'm a patient of Dr. Larry. $25 off. Any location, good shoes matter. When the foot hits the ground first, and the foot is not supported well, the knee, the hip, the low back, even the neck can pay the price. By the way, they just give this discount because they were on the show a couple of times, one of the co-owners, and this is just a benefit of listening to the show and the fact that they're a small business. They got 3 locations, Iron Mountain now, Houghton, and Marquette. So, Queen City Running. Check them out. Don't forget, there's the Ask Dr. Larry link on WIKB. You can email your healthcare question to me through the week. Got a pain question? Got a back question? Maybe even an insurance question. Healthcare system question. Maybe you had a denial. Maybe you don't understand a letter from the insurance company. You know what I thought? When I retire, never. I was like, boy, I could really help out a lot of people. How could I do this? How could I have a wing to my practice where I just hammer out, not necessarily insurance denials, like a business where I'm helping people with their insurance denials? And I figured out somehow, I don't know, figure out the fees, the cost. Again, big idea thinking. Like just all day long. You bring in your slip from whatever hospital, denial. I get on the phone, team of people. I start hammering out letters. I've done stuff like this before and won. But anyway, pipe dreams, right? I can talk about those. I dream. So don't forget about the Ask Dr. Larry link on WIKB.com. Also, check out my website, Dr. Larry, drlarryradio.com, DRLARRY radio.com. Three main tabs to look for. You'll see the previous show archives. In fact, when you hit my website, or you just type in Dr. Larry Crystal Falls, you see the website, bang, right there. It'll say welcome. It'll have a little subscribe button. Right underneath there is the most recent show that I've uploaded. You can click and play that. If you want to listen to archive shows, that's where you hit the subscribe button. It'll take you through some menu options there. And if you want, send a show to a friend. Lenny's done it. I did a show, I think it might have been this one a year ago. Lenny sent a show to his friend. Send it over to a friend. Let it listen to it. Maybe it's something you heard that somebody else want to hear. Forward it on to them. It's drlarryradio.com. Also, a couple of special mentions here. Whitewater Associates from AMISA. Jen, I'll give you the phone number, 906-822-7889. She is the one of the co-owners there, too. She's been on the show before. Get your water testing kit. Get your drinking water, your well water tested. It's a really good thing to do. Fascinating information when she comes on the show. Again, Whitewater Associates. I would say even, too, for the value of the information that you get and for the cost of it as well, too, it matches wonderfully well. And they got a lab. They got a team of people. 906-822-7889. And then, of course, Lori LaFleur over at Tri-County Communications. Lori is doing her business still. She keeps talking about somebody that doesn't retire. Lori just keeps doing hearing aids and hearing tests. So go visit Lori LaFleur if it's that time to get your hearing checked. I get the benefit of wearing some headsets right now. But I've been saying what a lot more. Kids notice it. Wife notices it. But I get the benefit of sitting in a room one-on-one with people all day long, so I can hear you really well. But put me in an open room, some people talking, brut row. I feel like I need to put some headsets on. Or what else does that mean? Give me some hearing aids. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? All right. Uper Tim. I love it. Big smile. Good catch, by the way, too. He's getting good on the board. I can almost sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride now. I almost feel like I'm being chauffeured in a limo. Tim's the driver, and I'm sitting in the back. Well, we had the glass open so I can talk to him, too. I mean, I like to talk to Tim. And he's doing a good job on the board. Really appreciate it. And let's get time for the tip and trick. You head up to the broadcast booth. I'm going to head out center stage for the demo. Today, we're going to learn a simple self-test for hamstring bulk. Hamstring bulk. Okay, go.
All right, Dr. Larry is sitting and he's lifting his left leg, right leg, and he's squeezing back by his hamstrings with both hands.
Bingo, man. You got it. Good job. Color commentator. You and Troy Margoni, man, you should be doing the sports broadcaster. You just got to get more of a broadcaster. Well, no, he's got that kind of voice. You could be the black and white commentator, just kind of that middle ground dry, Yeah, that's right. You always have to have two, the color commentator and the other commentator. You can do that. It's just, you ever think about doing sports? All right, so hamstring bulk. Those things I do. I just had a new patient, young lady. She's had some scoliosis, and she was in with some pain. So as I do routinely, you wouldn't think somebody would lose muscle at a young age. And I kind of felt right by the knee and the quadricep area. I was like, hey, you lost muscle over here. What gives? Then it kind of went behind the knee of the hamstring, and same thing. pretty much anybody comes to my office that they have it's evaluation time or got to check something out. I feel the hamstrings just to see what's cooking. Hamstrings are powerful, 2 big muscles in the back there. They help you go up and down steps, and one hamstring sometimes gets less bulk than the other, and a lot of times catching atrophy, which can be a big problem. So just make sure you squeeze your hamstrings. It's a hamstring squeeze day. Hope you enjoyed the show. You can see what I do with shows by the time. Sometimes I go legal and administrative, and then sometimes I go right back into clinical. So I just kind of do it to keep cycling up, keep things fresh. Folks, remember, you can listen to me live right here every week to learn how to achieve a better back and better health, or if you're having a pain or problem. I'm here to help. My number at the office, 906-875-3215. If you get busy signals, it's Spectrum's fault. Sorry. It's happened sometimes. Just call, leave a message, or call back again. Muscling through the phone system. Have a good day. Man on the board. See you next week, everybody.
The home of telephone time and all your favorite classic hits. WIKB, Iron River, Watersmeet, Crystal Falls, Florence. 99.1 WIKB, a listen-up radio station.